Okay, so we're excited. We're going to move into now I'm going to ask our 3 sheriff candidates to come to the 3 chairs, and we have kind of met. This is going to be a question and answer period. They have agreed to go in alphabetical order, which I messed up, but I told them I went to UT. We played football. I didn't go to the English class. But anyway, they have figured out the alphabetical order of the thing, so we're glad. But, Todd, let me get out of the way and I'll let you get on over there. I appreciate that. Thank you. Because of the time constraints and the massive group of people, we as leaders and officers decided that we would have the questions written on index cards and more or less group them to the concerns. There should be apparent concerns or questions. And so we have got 3 questions we have selected for the candidates. They knew this was coming. But let me stress this. They're each going to make an introductory statement about what they wish for you to be informed about. And then we're going to move to the 3 designated questions. However, we have asked them to remain after the meeting for a few minutes. Now, you remember, Peggy's hungry. But anyway, they are more than happy. All 3 of them express a great desire. If you have a personal, individual question for any candidate that did not make one of the 3 cards, you are welcome to stay and visit with them. Okay? So at this time, we'll start with Dwayne, and introduce yourself and take your 4 minutes. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for the introduction. And I want to start out first by saying that this is a privilege for me as a resident of this county to run as your sheriff. And my background, I just want to quickly say that my leadership and vision started in 1979. When I joined the military, I had to learn vision and leadership, and that was my first footing into learning what I would apply later on in my life. And in 1986, I decided to further my life and my career in going into law enforcement, which was similar to the military structure. But the opportunity for me to serve my community as a police officer here in Morristown, I served in the school system, in the DARE program, and I saw the effects of what narcotics and the pressure to our young kids, what it did. And then I had the opportunity to go into the narcotics part of life, to where then I started working also not at the local level, but also at the federal level. I saw both sides of the impact of what narcotics had done to not only this community, but other communities that I've worked in. So as I moved on into the training part of my life, that's where I started realizing that there's compliances and policies that we as a police agency, we are public servants to our communities that we adhere to. And then I moved on up into the accreditation part of Morristown and became the accreditation manager before leaving in 2003 and went to the state of Tennessee as when they first stood up the Office of Homeland Security. Now, I know there's a fine line between confidence and humbleness and arrogance, but this humbles me to say this. When I was chosen to be an agent with the Office of Homeland Security, I wasn't just one of only 6 of the people that was hired in Tennessee. I was one of 3,000 applicants that became an agent for the Office of Homeland Security. Then, within 3 to 4 months after we were there, if everybody remembers, after 9/11, nobody knew in Tennessee where we were at in our lives and where our next threat was coming from. There was us 6 agents in the state of Tennessee. We were sent back to our respective regions. Obviously, I was in East Tennessee, where I oversaw 34 counties. And when I first started looking at what was directed at us for a for the future of the Office of Homeland Security. What you all don't know, and this is, and I'm humbled to say this, it was Morristown office of the Homeland Security Office of Tennessee that developed and implemented the council for each district in Tennessee. It originated right out of the Walter State Building, and I was one of the architects that did that. Now, that doesn't make me special, but it told me where I wanted to be in the protection of our community and our state. Now, I spent 21 years with Morristown Police Department, and I spent 12 years with the Office of Homeland Security. And I retired there in January 2019 as Assistant to Commissioner of Safety. And that's about it. I'm not going to go further because I'm sure that the bell is getting ready to get rung on me here.
I'm Todd Davidson. I'm a candidate for Hamblen County Sheriff, obviously, and I'm going to do something a little different tonight. I don't want to tell you about everything I've done in the past. I want to tell you what I'd like to do from this point forward. If you want to, I've got information with me. If you want to stay afterwards, I'll share you the information on my background in law enforcement. I did spend 31 years in law enforcement, and I'll be glad to talk to you about that, and I've got some information I can get out to you. My wife, Tammy's seated here. She's a 30-year educator in Hamblen County, so she's with me tonight. There's 4 points I want to make tonight. First point I want to make is if I'm elected to serve as your sheriff in Hamblen County, one of the most important things on my agenda will be accountability, which means that I will be available for the public to come in and speak with me about their problems, whatever their problems are in the community, and I will be available for my deputies, the detectives, jailers, whoever has a problem. If they need to see the sheriff, I'm going to make myself available to those people. Accountability starts at the top. How can I have an organization of 85 to 90 people seated under me and make them be accountable, but I don't hold myself accountable? Accountability starts at the top. That's one thing that's very important on my agenda. Number 2 is I've got a team of teams plan ready to go. And what that consists of is this. The Hamblen County Sheriff's Department can only do so much for Hamblen County. We have to utilize all the other resources that are available, such as the TBI, the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the Drug Task Force, all these other resources that are available. We could use those at no cost. If we have a drug problem in the neighborhood and we don't have the manpower to sit on that drug problem, we reach out to these other resources. Hey, we need help here. They come in, and guess what? They come in on the state time, and they assist Hamblen County, and we try to get things done. So, team of teams. The Sheriff's Department is an organization, but it consists of teams. You have the jail, you have the investigative division, you have the patrol division, you got courtroom security. All these offices within that organization, they have to be on the same team for that organization to rise to the level it needs to be at, to provide the best services to you guys in our community. Number 3, this is important. I want to implement a recruiting program. As anybody in here that's in law enforcement knows that law enforcement is not just a job. Law enforcement is a career or a profession. When I chose to go in law enforcement 30-something years ago, I wasn't looking to go into it for 6 months and then go find another job. I was looking at it as a career. We can't sit and wait for applicants to come to the Justice Center and apply for jobs. We got to go out and find these people that's looking for a career and an opportunity to help their families, something long term. Because yes, it doesn't pay a lot of money, but I'm a result of the TCRS retirement system. At some point in time, the benefits will come. So we got to build a recruiting program to reach out to the community and draw these candidates in that's going to stay long term. Also, we'll do a top to bottom review, and what that consists of is this. We'll go in and look at every position in the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department from top to bottom. That would be from the sheriff to the guy that just got hired yesterday. We want to allocate those resources where they need to be. If we got 20 people doing this job, we only need 5, and we need to find 15 other places that we can use those people to better serve our community. That's 4 points I want to get across tonight, and I thank you for your time, because I'd say my time's about up. Thank you. Yep, I was right.
My name's Chad Mullins, and I want to talk to you about my experience. That's what I'm running on, to be running for Hamblen County Sheriff. I started my career back in 1996 working in the jail. I worked in the jail for about a year and a half, and I was promoted to patrol division. As a patrol officer, I took on the responsibilities and the duties of being a canine officer. I worked a dual-purpose dog for about 7 years at the Sheriff's Department. It's a dual-purpose dog. It's a narcotic dog and a apprehension dog. I am one of the departmental instructors. I'm a firearms instructor for the Sheriff's Department. I currently still am, and I'm also a emergency driving instructor for the Sheriff's Department. I've been on the Honor Guard for approximately 15 years, and if elected sheriff, I'll continue to be on the Honor Guard and honor that. I've been a member of the East Tennessee Meth Task Force for 15 years as well. I was trained to dismantle clandestine meth labs. I've worked several years in narcotics, working undercover. While I was K-9, I was promoted to patrol sergeant. Then in 2010, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. At that time, I went into the CID. I went into the Detectives Division for about a year until I'd done all my treatments and all that. When I come out of that, I've tested for a patrol supervisor, the lieutenant's position. For the first 15 years of my career, I worked night shift, working patrol and narcotics. Then when I got promoted to lieutenant, I went to day shift. In 2019, I was promoted to the administrative operations captain. My job as the operations captain is I'm over all law enforcement activities. I assist the sheriff and the chief with over a $9 million budget. I present this budget with the chief and sheriff to the commission and to the mayor. I'm also involved in purchasing all law enforcement equipment, all of our vehicles, and keeping all that going. I consider myself a true conservative. When I come on board as the operations captain, I go with the chief and sheriff and see how we could save money. I started with our maintenance program. I took all of our maintenance away from dealerships and I put them to a local mechanic shop. We've got a primary and a secondary mechanic shop, and that has cut our mechanic bills in half. Also, with the oil changes, instead of using dealerships, I search for a state bid, and we get our oil changes at a place that's cut it in half price as well. I started being a member of the 3rd Judicial Hamblen County Recovery Court team. This team is made up of 15 members. There is a director on it, there's a judge on it, there's a representative for the Public Defender's Office, the District Attorney's Office, law enforcement, which is myself. There is a recovering peers that's on this team. We have a doctor on the team. We have several treatment providers for substance abuse and mental health. What we do is it's all felons, it's not no misdemeanors, it's got to be non-violent felons. You can't have no violent felons and you can't have no sexual assaults. Everybody's got to be at least have 2 years sentence or more. So we're ranging right now between 2 years and 14 years on these people we got in this. It's an extensive house arrest program. We help them get back established into the community. They're tracked by their cell phones with us. They are drug tested probably 5 times a week at least. They have to attend meetings on substance abuse. We help them get their license back, get their finances straight, and if I'm elected sheriff, I will continue to be on that team, and I would like to have more programs like that for the Sheriff's Department. I have dedicated my entire career of 26 years to the Sheriff's Department, and with my experience, I think that's prepared me to be your next sheriff. Let my experience work for you. I think that's 4 minutes.
Thank you. All right, our first question, and the candidates agreed among themselves that they would just answer the questions. I thought, well, that's the way to do it, instead of long drawn-out things, but just think about these in your answer here. The first question is, what do you feel is the most pressing issue in law enforcement in our community, and how would you address this issue?
It's my opinion that the pressing issue in our community today is the folks that are incarcerated at the Hamblen County Justice Center, where substance abuse and alcohol is a part of the problem of when these people are, or folks are incarcerated and in the system, and there is medical conditions there now that we have to look at, because jails were never originally designed to become a part of the hospital group. But what a lot of people don't realize is, or remember maybe, is back in the early mid-1990s, a lot of our folks in Hamblen County that either had deteriorating mental disorder or had some significant substance abuse, the federal government, if you remember Lakeshore, this was a federal government facility that would take these folks and help them recover. Well, when they closed that got put back into on the community. And I don't believe half the community realized that had happened. So where did these folks end up going to? Instead of from the street in patrol car to the hospital, diagnosed with either a significant, either going through withdrawals or worse, or a significant mental deterioration, they would go down to Lakeshore. That's where it used to be. Now, it goes from the street, patrol car, to the jail. So when they go into the jail, there's folks there that probably we don't know how to get. I don't know where it's gauged from, whether it's the onset, or are we at the withdrawal, or are we at the significant side of death. So my question is going to be, and I think it is for most people who I've talked to that has been affected by this through either a family member or a friend who has been in substance abuse or has some deteriorating mental health issue in the system. And folks, I realize everybody sitting in this room wouldn't want to find themselves in jail, but I don't think anybody, for what crime they commit, should deserve to die in a cell or on the floor. So my question is going to be how we observe this from the onset to save these lives and give them the help they need and get them back rehabilitated and get them back into our work environment. Because you go from one end of this town to the other, whether you go north to south, east or west, you see help wanted signs. So there's a problem here. We got places out here where they're wanting to employ people, but the biggest part of the people that we got are in the system. And some of them are substance abuse, some of them have mental health issues. So we as a community, this is no longer a police or sheriff's problem. This is a community problem. And we as a community have to decide how we're going to attack this problem. And we got to work this as a community. So in my opinion, our biggest problem facing us today is substance abuse in our community, but it's also the folks that we're dealing with in the jail, because this is a financial burden, not just a people burden with families and friends who have those in the system. So that's what I think.
How many people's watching the football game tonight? So I ain't gonna keep you long. I'll tell you, one of the most pressing issues that I see right now, of course, obviously drugs is one of them, but is retaining employees. I just left the city of Morristown, and I know since I retired a year ago, And there's officers down there now, maybe by the dozen, that I have no idea who they are. The turnover is unacceptable. We've got to look and find ways to keep these employees employed with our agency. And I know when you go in and you apply for a job at the Morristown Police Department and the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department, you don't go in there and say, I want to make $100,000 a year, because they're going to look at you and laugh and say, well, you're at the wrong place. And law enforcement officers that are making a career out of this, that's not what they're looking. They're not going in there expecting that. They know what the pay is when they go apply. But we've got to find ways to try to get that pay increase to certain levels so we can retain these employees. Of course, a young guy in his 20s, he's not real concerned about benefits like an old guy like me, insurance and things like that, unless they have children. Then that becomes a concern. But one of the main things that we're facing right now is retaining employees. And then that's what I mentioned earlier about the recruiting program, implementing the recruiting program. That helps us to go out in the community and attract those people that's attractive to us, the ones that we want to keep, the ones that's going to make a career out of this, that's going to stay with us 20, 30 years. We don't want to be hiring people every few months, every time we turn around. But all across the country, this is going on, trying to retain employees in law enforcement. Now, our country's not being real kind to law enforcement in the past few years. Now, I'm not saying Hamblen County. Fortunate for me, I worked my whole career at the Morristown Police Department, 31 years and a month in the same, well, not same building, but same organization. Now, with that being said, that's not happening everywhere anymore, so we got to get back to that. And we've got to, as a community, the Sheriff's Department, the Mayor's Office, the County Commission, all these people, we got to come together and work together to try to find a solution that's not detrimental to the community, but is helpful to the employees so we can retain these people and be the best professional organization we can to provide the best services possible to Hamblen County.
I agree with Todd on that it is tough right now to keep employees, but I think the biggest problem in the community is narcotics. I'm still actively working and working with the narcotics, and I would say that our inmates in the Hamblen County Jail, that 90% of them has got something to do with substance abuse. And that's what I was talking about with this recovery court that I'm a part of, that I see it being very successful, and I'm glad to be on it, and I want to continue it, and I'd like to have more things like that to give these inmates.
Thank you. What enhancements or improvements would you make as sheriff in the sheriff's department?
I've already started working on that quite some time back. If you're going to get employees, you've heard about recruitment. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm looking at the organizational structure. You've got to give people who are coming into that organization, who want to grow, have the same opportunity that you had, I had, to look up, to come into an organization and be able to look up and grow. Now, that also comes with understanding career goals. When you come into an organization, you've got to have set career goals. Also, training. Training is significant in any organization that you go into, because you want the best qualified when they come into an organization, and to grow in that organization, you want well qualified, trained personnel going into those positions. And I would overall, the organizational chart that I've designed for the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department is going to give growth from the bottom up, and I will be looking to for folks who are coming in to come in and go up and grow in an organization and be proud of the department that they work for, but also provide a service to the community as to what this community deserves. There's also some additional community programs that I've put into my organizational chart to start providing a service that we're currently and there's nothing against what we're doing right now as a service, but we can always improve ourselves. We should never get at that point of complacency and think we have arrived at where we need to be. We should always be trying to grow and give a good service to the community, because if we won't, because again, I think I heard it earlier, you know, folks come into an organization, obviously the people like to be paid well. I think as a community that if we are getting a good service and we look at the service we're getting, we want to keep those people in that organization. So those are the types of things that I'm going to build into this organization to where it gives a good service to the community. Thank you.
2 quick points. One is training. I think that what takes place when you, the people inside the sheriff's department, they need adequate training, but we all get the bare minimum that's required by post-commission. These guys need a chance to further train themselves, something maybe far more advanced that could help them move up in the administration process. But that would consist of anything. I mean, maybe they want to be an instructor, maybe they want to be a detective, maybe they want to be a sergeant, whatever, but we need to have some outside training in excess of only the bare minimum, and we need to find out ways to implement that to help these guys. Another thing I think is important is looking into these grant monies that are out here. I know in my history as a police officer with the Morristown Police Department, we got people down there that's reaching out writing grants, and there's sometimes we got, I call it free stuff coming in left and right. You know, yes, we do have to spend it the way they tell us, but that's okay as well. If they say, hey, this is only to provide your department with 20 bulletproof vests, guess what? We got 20 new bulletproof vests today. Or we got 3 new patrol cars today. So we got to reach out there. This stuff don't just show up at your door. We got to get motivated, put forth the effort, reach out there and find that stuff and say, hey, this is something we're interested in. We'd like to bring this into our agency. We need help here. We're a 2 patrol cars short because maybe we crashed one, the motor went out of one. So we got to go out and find that stuff. It don't just come to us. We got to put forth the effort to get out there, find this stuff that's going to help our organization, so that our organization can provide a better service to our community.
With me, that's what we're doing now. I'm still working with the current administration, the current sheriff, and the current chief. If something comes up, we're trying to move it forward. One thing I would like to see for us is to gain more officers on patrol. I'd like to have more officers on patrol, Texas Division, Narcotics Division, and get some response times a lot faster. But if we see it coming in as of today, then we start trying to work on it tomorrow. And that's what we're doing now.
As the best choice for sheriff?
My experience over life where I've had the opportunity to lead has not only just been at the Morristown Police Department. I've also led, again, in the very early stages of my life, I led while I was in the military. I was ranked well in the military. I was decorated well in the military. When I got into the Morristown Police Department, I ranked all the way up to a lieutenant, where I held several key positions. And then when I went into the office, originally it was called the Governor's Office of Homeland Security. Then it went to the Office of Homeland Security. Then it ended up being the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Started out as a regional coordinator, and each time elevated up to regional advisor, Bureau of Operations, and then assistant to the commissioner. I've always tried to excel myself, and keeping in mind too that while I was trying to build my career and do the things that I needed to do to provide the best service that I could provide, I also put myself through school, which I was a late bloomer in education. I never received my master's until I was 54 years old. And it's kind of comical when you're sitting in a auditorium and they're calling out the degrees, and they mentioned that one person is 54 years old, and your daughter turned around in that silent auditorium and said, "Dad, I think that's you they're talking about." And everybody puts their eyes right on me. Well, I was embarrassed, but I got to thinking about that. Well, if nothing else, I finished what I started, and it was, and to raise a family, and working full time, and going to college. If you've ever done that, you understand what I'm talking about. It's a challenge in life. And what I feel I can bring to this sheriff's department is vision and leadership. And nothing else, organizational management. Thank you.
Here's why I feel like I'm the best candidate for the job. To be a leader of an organization, you got to understand the one day on-the-job patrol guy as well as the top-notch guy. I've been that first day on-the-job patrol guy. I've worked night shift. I've missed ball games, cheerleading competitions, and all that stuff. I know what it's like to walk in the guy's shoes that are what are the foundation of the organization. They're the foundation. The sheriff's not the foundation of the organization. The sheriff's the leader to lead that organization. Those guys that we call that are at the bottom, which they're really not at the bottom, they're there for a reason, because they're the rock. They're the foundation of that organization. I've been there. I've worked narcotics. I've taught there in elementary school. I've been a patrol supervisor. And I've done all that stuff. So I know what it takes for all that to come together and work like a fine-tuned machine to make that organization go out and be on top and make the community look at it and say, man, this is awesome. Our sheriff's department is employed by 80 to 90 employees. Those people up there have families just like we do. What's wrong with me if I'm the sheriff on Thanksgiving Day, going up to the sheriff's department after me and my family have had Thanksgiving dinner and say, hey guys, I'll answer a call or two right now, or I'll sit here and watch D block or C block, go home and eat with your family real quick, and while I sit here for a while. If there's any problems, I'll call you, since you bail me out or whatever. But it starts at the bottom. It don't start at the top. It starts at the bottom, and I've been there. I've been in those positions. I know what it takes to try to climb and get to a certain point. When I retired from the city, they left me in charge of 6,000 pieces of evidence at City Hall. I don't think they would have left somebody that's untrustworthy, that's unfair, or unjust to do that job. One thing that I will carry with me is fairness and being just and true to every employee up there. From day one, don't matter who they support in this campaign, those employees need a job. They will work for me if I'm the sheriff. Everybody up there, to include Chad Mullins. That's the type of sheriff and leader I want to be for our community. To show people, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do for our community. Thank you.
Well, I think I'm the best candidate for the job, to be the sheriff. I've been in every position there. I've been that guy that worked in the jail. I've worked the night shifts as well. I've worked patrolling on the streets of Hamblen County. I know the budget process of Hamblen County. I know the purchasing process of Hamblen County. I don't know the purchasing process or anything from Marshall Police Department, Jefferson City Police Department, but I do know it from the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department. That's what makes me stand out to be your next sheriff.
Well, thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for being part of our program and sharing with our ladies' meeting tonight. And remember what I said following adjournment. If you would like to speak to them individually, they have all graciously agreed to do